Good morning, Easton.
Hi.
I read this book to Easton last week, and I thought, man, this is perfect for what we are studying here at school. So, this is Curious George Discovers Plants. Have you ever wondered where the fruits and vegetables in your grocery store come from? Most of them are grown on farms far away and come by truck, train, boat, or plane. Are you curious about how vegetables and other plants grow? George is curious too. George was enjoying market day. He liked the fresh vegetable section with its cucumbers, artichokes, beets, spinach, carrots, and onions, to name just a few. George wasn't sure where vegetables came from, but he sure loved to eat them. They had as many different tastes as shapes and colors. I was thinking about cooking vegetable soup tonight, George, said his friend, the man with the yellow hat. Did you know? Vegetables are plants. Plants are living things, but they are different from other groups of living things, such as animals. Plants make their own food from sunlight, and they don't move on their own. There are many types of plants, including fruits, grasses, flowers, and trees. But then I started to think of Chef Pischetti's famous fresh vegetable soup and his spinach ravioli. Maybe we should go to his restaurant, the man asked. What do you think? Yum, thought George. At Chef Pischetti's restaurant, they sat at their favorite table and placed their order with Nettie, the chef's wife. We'd both like fresh vegetable soup with extra carrots and spinach ravioli, the man ordered. Did you know? Without plants, we wouldn't have life as we know it on this planet. People and animals depend on plants to make the air breathable. Plants also provide healthy food for us to eat. Wait, Chef Pischetti cried as he emerged from the kitchen. I am out of fresh veggies. We have finished the carrots and spinach. George was worried. What would they have for dinner? Why don't you pick some more vegetables? Nettie asked. Would you like to come with me to pick the vegetables, Giorgio? The chef asked. George nodded and followed him eagerly. We're going up to the roof, the chef announced. George was confused. Didn't the vegetables come from a market? Did you know plants can make their own food from sunlight and carbon dioxide? Carbon dioxide is a gas found in the air. This food-making process is called photosynthesis. It makes glucose, sugar, which the plant will use for energy. And it releases another gas called oxygen into the air. We need the oxygen to breathe, and they have a nice diagram on the bottom here. The water, the oxygen goes out, the carbon dioxide goes in, and then the sunlight. Some veggies grow on farms far away, then travel to a store where they sit around until you buy them, Chef explained. But my veggies grow here. The chef proudly waved his arm at all the boxes filled with dirt. I pick them, I take them down to my kitchen, and they go into your belly, all on the same day. That's Pischetti fresh. George was still confused. Where were the fresh vegetables? Did you know? There are local farmers markets all over the country. Have you ever been to one? These outdoor markets sell things like fruit, vegetables, meats, and cheeses that are grown or made by local farmers. This food may be much fresher than food you buy at a supermarket. So around us, there's a farm called the Cornucopia, and they sell their vegetables. And my sister and her family, they sell vegetables back in Indiana. They have their own farm too. Maybe a lot of you have your own gardens at home that you grow your own vegetables in. George watched in amazement as Chef Pischetti grabbed a sprig of green and pulled a carrot out of the dirt. Did you know that plants need sunlight, water, nutrients for food, air, and a safe place to grow? Sounds a lot like what you need to grow food too. What's this? Chef Pischetti pulled another green sprig out of the dirt. Oh, a weed. Weeds are bad. They soak up the water and nutrients from the soil that my veggies need to grow, the chef explained. If I don't have fresh veggies to cook, I may have to close down. George wouldn't want that to happen. But I don't have time to pull the weeds out after working all day, Chef Pischetti added. That night, George worried about Chef Pischetti's weed problem. He lay in bed while the man read him a bedtime story, but he didn't pay much attention. Before he knew it, George had an idea. He knew how he could help Chef Pischetti. The next morning, George secretly took some gardening tools from the chef's roof and began to dig up the weeds. He dug up every green thing he saw. He packed all those leafy greens into 3 trash bags and threw the bags away. Did you know? There are lots of different gardening tools. Here are some of the more common ones. Shovel, for moving large amounts of dirt or rocks. Trowel, for digging smaller holes for seeds or bulbs. Pruners, for clipping leaves or flowers. George was excited to see the chef's reaction in the garden later that day, but the chef was not happy. "Oh no!" Chef Pischetti exclaimed. "The weeds are gone, but all my veggies are gone too. Who could have done this?" George felt bad. He realized that he didn't know how to tell the difference between a weed and a vegetable. Do you think you could? Did you know? Weeds are plants that grow where they are not wanted. They usually grow quickly and take up space in a garden or on a farm. Weeds use up the nutrients and water that crops need to grow, so they should be removed. Even though weeds can harm crops, some are pretty, such as dandelions. "I will have to plant all new vegetables," the chef announced. He took out some seeds to show George. "Can you believe this little seed will grow into a carrot?" George shook his head. It was amazing. Earlier this year, we were looking at parables, and we looked at the mustard seed and how tiny it was and how it grew into a huge tree. The chef dug a small hole in the ground with his trowel, scooping the dirt out. He placed a seed into the hole and replaced the dirt. "I'll water and fertilize the seeds regularly." The chef saw George's puzzled look. Fertilize means to feed. Did you know? Fertilizer is a special type of plant food. It helps plants grow. "We will have new vegetables in 3 to 4 months, Chef said. I won't have fresh veggies to use for cooking until then." George was curious. Why did it take so long? Maybe it didn't have to. Maybe a little monkey could come to the rescue. Any thoughts on what he might do? George ran home and took all the carrots he could find from the refrigerator. He ran back to the roof garden and began to dig a hole where the carrot seeds had been planted. George carefully placed 1 fully grown carrot in each hole that he had dug. It took a long time, but finally George finished putting all the carrots he had brought from home in the ground. He put the tools back where he found them. Test it out. Sprout a bean plant. Take 2 or 3 dried lima beans or kidney beans and place them on the top of a damp paper towel. Put the paper towel and beans inside a plastic bag and seal it up. Put the bag in a warm location with some light, such as a windowsill. Re-wet the towel if it dries out. Watch the bean seeds as they begin to sprout. Roots should start to grow after a few days. You can plant the beans in soil at this point and continue to watch the plants grow leaves. Now, in your next learning packet, you guys get to do this. We're going to send materials home for you to do this at home. So don't do the experiment yet, unless you want to do it more than once. And you'll have to see if this happens or not. Wait and see. I love that project. The next morning, Chef Pischetti found a big surprise. "My carrots grew this big overnight. Oh, it's a miracle!" the chef called out. When George arrived later in the day, Chef Pischetti was still talking about the carrots. "Now I won't have to close the restaurant, Giorgio, because I will have fresh veggies." The chef scratched his head. "I wonder why the eggplants and squash didn't grow." Oops, George had forgotten all about them. "Tonight I will plant peas," Chef Pischetti said. "I hope it works again." Yep.
Ooh, I like peas.
Did you know your body needs vitamins to keep you healthy?
I like vitamins. I didn't have one already.
Well, we'll get you a vitamin later. Eating different colors of vegetables and fruit provides you with different vitamins. Nope, I need to finish reading. For example, orange and yellow vegetables contain vitamins A and C. Green vegetables contain vitamin K. Make sure to eat your way through a rainbow of colors each week. George left as soon as he could get to more vegetables from his refrigerator. He found fresh eggplants and squash, but no peas. He looked in the cupboards. There were plenty of canned peas. Can you guess what George is going to do? Explore further. Canned or frozen or fresh. During the winter months, when fresh produce is not in season, canned or frozen vegetables can be just as healthy as fresh produce. That's because ripe vegetables are canned or frozen very soon after they are picked, so they stay nutritious. If fresh vegetables have to travel a long way to the store, they may lose some of their nutrients before you eat them. The next morning, the chef found fresh eggplants and squash in his garden, along with canned peas. He called to his wife, "It happened again, Nettie, and the peas are in cans. It's magic. Call the TV news." The chef was so excited. He asked his scientist friends to come and study the special dirt in his garden. At home, the man with the yellow hat discovered that all the vegetables in the kitchen were missing. "George," he called, "do you know what happened to all our veggies?" George nodded. He led his friend out of the house and over to Chef Pischetti's. When the man arrived at the rooftop garden, he finally understood what George had done. "Well, it looks like George has been your magic gardener," the man explained. "All our vegetables have been going into your dirt." Did you know that even if you don't have the room outside to start a garden of your own, you can try growing herbs indoors? All you'll need is a window with plenty of sunlight and some potted herbs such as basil, rosemary, and thyme. Don't forget to water your herbs every day. "Ah, Nettie, our garden isn't magic after all," the chef said sadly. "But your cooking still is," Nettie replied. "Absolutely," everyone agreed.
Absolutely.
"That's right," said the man. "You can cook up our vegetables any day." I'm almost finished. Everyone helped pick the vegetables, and Chef Pischetti invited all his friends to stay for a delicious lunch of vegetable soup. George's plan was a success after all. And then it has some information in the back. This I love because it has the different veggies that grow during the year. I hope you enjoyed, and some of you maybe have already done some making of vegetable soup at home, but it's still a great thing to eat all year round. I hope you have a great day, and you have an experiment to look forward to in our next learning pack.